Welcome to the Well-Being Podcast, where every episode is a step towards a healthier,
happier you.
let's grow
Thrive.
and shine together. Today we're taking a deep dive into something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Okay.
The connection between art and mental well-being. We've all heard about the benefits of meditation, but can creating art really have the same positive impact on our mental health?
It's a question more and more researchers are exploring, and the findings are pretty fascinating.
Oh, wow.
We often categorize art and meditation separately, but when you look closer, they both encourage us to connect with ourselves and find a sense of peace in the present moment.
That's interesting you say that because when I think about the times I feel most relaxed and grounded, it's often when I'm lost in a creative project or, those rare moments when I actually manage to quiet my mind and meditate.
Sure.
But are there actual studies that back this up? What kind of research are we talking about here?
There's a 2016 study that I think you'll find particularly interesting. It found that spending just 45 minutes engaged in any type of art making, from painting to sculpting, significantly reduced cortisol levels, that's the stress hormone, in 75% of the participants.
Wow.
And here's the kicker.
Okay.
It didn't matter if someone considered themselves an artist or not.
Interesting.
The stress reduction was evident across the board.
Wow. 45 minutes. That's really intriguing.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what's happening in the brain during those 45 minutes that leads to such a significant decrease in stress. Is it the focus required that quietens the mind, similar to what happens during meditation? Or could it be the act of expressing emotions that releases stress?
Those are excellent questions, and it seems that both aspects play a role.
Okay.
Another study from 2018 showed that creating art actually enhances brain connectivity in areas related to self-awareness and introspection, which are also key areas targeted during mindfulness meditation. So it's not just about feeling good while you're painting. It's about fostering those same mindful connections in the brain that we cultivate through meditation.
So we're talking about actual neurological changes.
Yes.
That's pretty remarkable. You mentioned that both art and meditation promote mindfulness.
Right.
Could you elaborate on that? How do those processes compare?
Think about it this way.
Okay.
In meditation, you're training your mind to focus on a single point, like your breath or a mantra. It's about cultivating a stillness of mind.
Right.
In art, you're also focusing, but your attention is directed outward toward the colors you're mixing. The texture of the clay. The rhythm of your brush strokes.
Right.
It's a different type of focus, but it still pulls you into the present moment and allows those racing thoughts to settle.
It's like entering a flow state where you're completely absorbed in the creative process.
Yes.
Time seems to disappear, and you're just fully present in that moment of creation.
Precisely. And this is where we see another parallel between art and meditation. Emotional release. Art provides a tangible outlet for processing emotions, even those that are difficult to put into words. A 2020 study found that engaging in visual art activities led to greater emotional resilience and boosted self-esteem.
So whether you're throwing paint on a canvas or shaping clay with your hands, you're essentially giving those emotions a physical form and releasing them through that creative act.
Yes.
It's almost like a form of nonverbal therapy.
Exactly.
Seems like both art and meditation offer a path towards mindfulness and emotional well-being, but is one more accessible than the other?
That's a great point, and it's something that often comes up when comparing the two. For many, meditations can feel intimidating. It takes a certain level of discipline and patience to sit still and quiet the mind.
Right.
Especially in our fast-paced world.
For sure.
Art, on the other hand, often feels more approachable and playful. There's less pressure to do it right.
Right.
And the creative process itself can be inherently enjoyable.
I think that resonates with a lot of people. Even with guided meditation apps, it's easy to get distracted or feel like you're not doing it correctly.
Yeah.
Art, however, feels more intuitive and less rule-bound.
Right.
You can simply let your creativity flow and see where it takes you.
Exactly. It's about tapping into that innate creative energy that we all possess.
I like that.
And if it can offer similar mental health benefits to meditation while also being more accessible, that makes it a powerful tool for well-being.
Right.
We've talked about mindfulness and emotional release, but are there other benefits supported by research?
Let's delve into some of those studies.
Yeah.
What else are researchers finding?
Well, a 2019 study by Drexel University found that 75% of participants experienced a significant reduction in anxiety after just one art-making session.
Wait, just one session?
Yeah.
That's a pretty immediate impact.
It is.
What about longer-term benefits?
Research from the University of Westminster found that engaging in creative activities or even simply visiting an art gallery can lower blood pressure and elevate mood for up to 2 hours.
So even passively experiencing art can have a positive physiological impact.
Yes.
That's really interesting. And what about art's impact on our overall mental health in the long run?
Here's a compelling statistic.
Okay.
The World Health Organization states that participating in creative activities can reduce the risk of depression and anxiety by up to 25%.
25%. That's a significant decrease.
It is.
It seems that art is more than just a hobby.
Yeah,
It's a powerful tool for improving mental well-being.
absolutely.
For our listeners who are feeling inspired to tap into their own creativity, is there a particular resource you recommend?
There's a book I often suggest called Art Sparks: 100 Exercises to Spark Creativity and Unleash Your Artistic Flow.
Oh, cool.
It's filled with imaginative exercises designed to help people break through creative blocks and explore new techniques.
That sounds like a great starting point for anyone who might be feeling a little intimidated by the idea of creating art. What makes this book particularly helpful?
It's designed for all skill levels, from beginners to seasoned artists. Each exercise is a new challenge chosen at random, so it keeps the creative journey fun and unpredictable.
So it's not about achieving perfection, but rather about embracing the process and enjoying the exploration.
Exactly. And for our listeners who are eager to get started on their own art for well-being journey, what practical tips would you suggest?
Well, from my own experience, I'd say the most important thing is to start small.
Okay.
Don't put pressure on yourself to create a masterpiece right away.
Yeah.
Doodling, coloring, or trying one of the Art Sparks exercises are all great ways to begin.
Sure.
And remember, the key is to focus on the process, not the outcome. Let go of the need for perfection.
Right.
The simple act of creating is what matters.
Yes.
It's like meditation in that way.
Right.
It's not about reaching a certain destination, but rather about being present in the journey.
I love that analogy. And just as you would set aside time for meditation, it's helpful to create a dedicated space and time for art making in your schedule.
Yeah.
Even 15-30 minutes a day can make a world of difference.
It's about making self-care a priority and integrating these practices into your daily routine.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to experiment with different mediums.
Right.
Try painting, clay collage, photography, anything that sparks your interest.
For sure.
You might be surprised by what you discover about yourself and your creative potential.
That's great advice. And don't forget to have fun with it. We often take art so seriously, but sometimes it's best to let go of expectations and just enjoy the pure joy of creating.
Yeah, I agree.
So it seems we've covered quite a bit of ground in exploring the connection between art and mental well-being.
We have.
But there's still so much more to uncover.
There is.
You're right.
Yeah.
We've talked about how art can reduce stress, boost mindfulness, and foster emotional release. But I think it's important to acknowledge that art and meditation, while sharing similarities, also have their nuances and distinctions.
That's an excellent point.
That's a great point. They're not entirely interchangeable.
Right.
So where do we go from here? How do we reconcile those similarities and differences?
Let's take a closer look at how these practices differ, and perhaps we can gain a deeper understanding of how each uniquely contributes to our well-being.
Sounds like a plan.
Welcome back.
So before we dig deeper into those nuances you mentioned, I'm curious about something you said earlier regarding the passive experience of art. Remember when we talked about visiting a museum?
Yes.
It almost sounded like just being around art could have benefits.
You picked up on a really interesting point, and you're absolutely right.
Okay.
That study we discussed from the University of Westminster, the one that showed how creating art can lower blood pressure and improve mood.
Right.
Well, the researchers also found that simply being in an art gallery had similar effects.
That's incredible. So you don't necessarily have to be the one creating the art to experience its positive effects.
Exactly. And there's actually a growing field of research exploring art as therapy, which utilizes visual art to improve mental and emotional health.
Oh, wow.
It's fascinating stuff.
So it's not just about making art ourselves, but also appreciating and engaging with the art that others have created.
Right.
That opens up so many possibilities for incorporating art into our lives.
Right.
We can visit museums, attend art exhibitions, even just spend time flipping through art books.
Yeah.
It makes those benefits so much more accessible.
It really does. And it just reinforces the idea that art is for everyone, regardless of your artistic abilities or experience. But now let's circle back to your initial question about those nuances between art and meditation.
Okay, so you mentioned there are key differences. I'm eager to unpack that a bit
One
more.
of the main distinctions lies in the level of engagement. Meditation is often viewed as a more passive practice. You're
Okay.
sitting still focusing on your breath, trying to quiet the mind,
Mm-hmm.
which, as we've discussed, can be a challenge in itself.
Definitely requires a certain level of discipline that not everyone finds easy.
On the other hand, art making is inherently active. You're using your hands, your senses are heightened, and you're essentially bringing something new into the world through your creativity.
So it's more about externalizing that energy,
Yeah,
whereas meditation is about internalizing it.
that's a great way to put it. And this leads to another key difference.
Okay.
The emphasis on outcome versus process.
Uh-huh.
In meditation, the primary focus is on the process itself,
Okay.
being present in the moment, observing your thoughts without judgment.
Right.
The goal isn't necessarily to achieve a specific state of mind, but rather to simply be.
It's that idea of the journey being more important than the destination.
Precisely. Whereas with art, there's often a focus on creating something tangible, a finished piece.
Okay.
You might have a specific vision in mind, and you're working towards realizing that vision.
Which then creates a sense of accomplishment when you complete a piece.
Exactly. And that feeling of accomplishment can be incredibly rewarding. But it's important to note that both art and meditation can be practiced with an emphasis on either outcome or process, depending on your intention.
So you could approach a painting with the sole intention of enjoying the act of painting itself, without being attached to how the final product turns out.
Absolutely. Or you could approach meditation with a specific goal in mind, such as reducing anxiety or improving focus.
It really comes down to personal preference and finding what works best for you.
Couldn't agree more. And ultimately, whether you're drawn to art or meditation or a combination of both, the key is to approach these practices with intention and a sense of curiosity.
To be present, open to the experience, and willing to explore.
Precisely. Now, I think it's important to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the idea that art takes many forms. We've been primarily focused on visual arts.
Right.
But the realm of artistic expression extends far beyond painting and drawing.
That's such an important point. There's music, dance, writing, poetry, theater. The list goes on.
And each of those art forms has its own unique set of benefits and ways to engage our creativity and enhance our well-being. So if painting or sculpting doesn't resonate with you, don't feel discouraged. Explore other avenues.
Maybe someone will find solace in writing poetry, or pure joy in dancing to their favorite music.
The key is to be open to trying new things and approaching creativity with a sense of playfulness and exploration.
It seems like we're coming to a close on our exploration of art and well-being. But before we wrap up completely, is there one final takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
I think it's crucial to remember that creativity is an essential part of what makes us human. It's a source of joy, connection, and healing.
And it's available to everyone, regardless of skill level or previous experience.
Embrace your creativity, nurture it, and allow it to enrich your life in countless ways.
It's amazing how we've come full circle. We started by asking if creating art could be as effective as meditation for mental well-being.
Yeah.
And it seems like the answer is a resounding yes.
Absolutely. Both practices offer these incredible pathways to reduce stress, enhance mindfulness, and cultivate a deeper connection with ourselves.
And what I find so empowering is that they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
You can incorporate both art and meditation into your life, finding that balance that feels right for you.
It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about recognizing the richness and diversity of practices that can nourish our well-being.
Speaking of richness and diversity, it's important to remember that art itself comes in so many forms.
Yes.
We've mostly focused on visual arts today, but the world of creative expression is so much broader.
You're absolutely right. We have music, dance, writing, poetry, theater.
It's amazing.
The possibilities are truly endless.
And each of these art forms offers its own unique set of benefits, its own way of engaging our creativity and enhancing our well-being. So if painting or drawing doesn't feel quite right for you,
Right.
don't be discouraged. There's a whole universe of creative expression waiting to be explored.
Perhaps you'll find your voice through music or discover a passion for expressing yourself through movement.
And that's the beauty of it.
Right.
There's something out there for everyone.
Exactly.
The key is to remain open to trying new things, approaching creativity with that same sense of curiosity and playfulness that we talked about earlier.
Beautifully said. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
I'm all ears.
Remember that creativity is an inherent part of what makes us human. It's a wellspring of joy, connection and healing.
And it's something that's available to all of us, regardless of our skill level or experience.
Embrace your creativity, nurture it, and allow it to infuse your life with meaning and wonder.
What a beautiful message to end on. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Wellbeing Podcast.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've been inspired to tap into your own creative potential and discover the transformative power of art. Don't forget to subscribe and like the Wellbeing Podcast. Share your thoughts and let us know in the comments what topics you'd love to hear about in future episodes.
And
thanks for listening to the Wellbeing Podcast. Take care, stay inspired, and see you next time.